But one of the things that was constantly hammered into me was data doesn't lie, right? And when we're talking about automation, we're not taking breaks. They rarely make mistakes. They're making mistakes if they were programmed incorrectly, right? And we have tests and wickets for that. And so for me, it's having these tools to know that every single lead that I'm paying for is getting taken care of according to what I prescribe, that exact action, and I don't have to think about it. And if it was missed, the system is trained to tell me it was missed. Hey everybody, LabCoatAgents. This is David Tamm with Cast Services. I've got my brother, Chris Tamm, here with me as well. Hi, Chris.
Hey, David.
So what we're going to do today, everybody, is we're going to talk about automation. So automation in the real estate space, it's a rapidly evolving subject, right? And a lot of times it was just only the large corporations that could touch this kind of technology because it was so expensive. But we've wrangled it down to 7 use cases that we're going to share with you that are currently live, okay, in the marketplace today. So what I'm going to do is share my screen, pop open that presentation, and then we're just going to get rolling, okay? And Chris, you can just interrupt me, kind of normal rules of engagement. If there's anything you'd like to add, okay? We'll just go back to the very front. Ready to go?
Yeah, I think maybe just one thing to add, and David, you might be talking about this anyway, is as we started using automation in our companies, it started out that automation was using tools, say, inside of a CRM. And now automation has advanced the point where now it's computers using other computers, reading the screen, using a mouse, using desktop applications, using a keyboard. And so now you have computers using other systems that aren't fully connected. And so a lot of people in automation say, okay, well, where's the API? Where's the direct connection to that? You don't have to have that anymore. These are offline connections where computers are using other computers that are then connecting or typing things in or pulling information out and sending it through an API. So kind of a new world of automation that very few people, unless, again, like David said, unless you're Fortune 100, Fortune 500 and have entire automation teams, most people don't know this is all usable today.
Love it, man. And since we have an hour, I want to ask some deeper questions. What is an API for those of us that maybe don't build them on a regular basis?
Yeah. So basically a programming interface where you have a pipe to go from one place to another. So an application would publish an API and say, here's how you work with me. Here's what will allow you to access. Here's what will allow you to do. But APIs are interesting and incredibly boring because if an API says, yes, you can put a note in, you can put an email in, that's great. It doesn't mean the system will send your email. It means that you can put it in. And so devil's in the details with APIs is just because there's a pipe there, many, many times what you or a computer could actually type into the website is very different and sometimes much more than what you can actually get from an API. And so kind of with that devil's in the details, a lot of people say, hey, I want A connected to B. An API may or may not be able to do it. And as companies change APIs, change what they do, deprecate old ones, this is kind of a different way of interacting with automation where it can use APIs, but it can also use actual computers and applications just like a person would.
Got it. So truly the next generation mousetrap, right, is what we're talking about here, having not to rely on that old kind of legacy technology.
Yeah, I mean, and that's I think a great way to say it. I mean, legacy technology is almost everything that we know today. When you have a neurolinguistic programmed computer that can read a screen, use a mouse, and fire up 1,000 other computers whenever they want to do something, there's still things that humans need to do where computers aren't there yet, but that list is getting smaller and smaller.
Got it. So I'm just going to dive right in with this first slide. So I've been amazed at what's been able to be accomplished over the last several months just with automation, kind of not necessarily in a beta because we've been working on the technology for years and years, but having it now live in marketplaces where we can stress test it with people that have 1,000 leads a month coming in and being able to automate a lot of their workflow, right? And so this is something that we'll kind of come back to. Right here, this is a message that was actually sent by the automation tools, right? Actual correspondence that's going out to the leads and then annotating that stuff in the CRM. And for this individual, we've got a multi-million-dollar brokerage executive here who they're scaling, right? And they want to scale fast and hard nationwide. And in order to do that, you would normally have to balloon your staff costs, right? Hire, and then you have to deal with all of different states and taxes and all this kind of stuff. Well, guys, with the automation tools, you can scale now without having to balloon staff costs for a lot of the low hanging fruit operational tasks that we're going to talk about here, in the coming 30, 45 minutes. Okay. Anything you want to add to that? Feeling good?
No, I think I think the only piece I would add to that is this is all, I started in this as a customer of this. And so building this into the actual operations, and probably one of the most interesting quotes that I've had is from one of our clients through many different companies. And what he said is previously when his team or his teams, he has many different businesses, would hire somebody, they would say, okay, let me see the job requirement, and then, okay, go hire the person. What they say now is no, nobody hires anybody until it goes through an automation meeting. If the entire leadership team gets together and says, okay, can this job be designed a different way where it can be automated, or to where it's only a tenth of what we thought it was? If for some reason it can't, then you have the okay to hire. But since they put that in place, they haven't hired a single person, because every time something would come up that everybody in the past said, okay, well, you have to hire somebody for that. Now, when you actually bring, say, Caston or your leadership team together and say, okay, this is what needs to be accomplished, how can it be automated? Again, very few chances you really have to hire people for. And there's also a lot of things that people are doing today that could be automated, so they could take over those little pieces that really need to be human led.
Right. And that was one of the big faces for me of seeing this automation in real world use cases. Is we're not putting people out of jobs. What we're doing actually is allowing staff members to focus on the highly intensive human skills, right? Creative, social media, and then all the low hanging fruit, like updating databases and smashing your head against the desk 10 hours a day. That's the stuff that can be automated. So what I have seen is morale also way up for agents, for admins, for operational staff, just because they don't have to be getting death by paper cuts, 10 hours, 8 hours a day. And that's really exciting to me. So let's just dive right in. What we've got is we're going to go through. And by the way, for everybody that's watching, listening, we've got the chat open. Please ask questions. And if you're watching this kind of post facto out on YouTube or on Facebook, seriously, reach out to us. Okay, we'll have contact information at the very end. You can always visit our website at cast.services, any of those lead forms. We want to open the conversation. The purpose of this entire webinar today is to open up the kimono and really show you how people are leveraging automation in the real estate space today. Okay. And there are people that have lower end 50 to 100 leads a month coming in. We have others that have 1,500 to 2,000 leads a month coming in. We have individuals that are in single states and micro markets to clients that are in 27 different states, right? So no matter what your issues are, we would love to know what they are, because we've never encountered an issue that we couldn't solve. And that's really special. And I'm probably not going to be able to say that for the rest of time, but at least for today, it's pretty incredible what we've been able to accomplish. So kind of setting the stage for this, we know that anytime you miss a follow-up piece, right, the critical path in order to take a lead from a lead registration to a transaction, a missed phone call, a missed tag update, a missed email mark in your CRM, any one of those mistakes breaks the chain, the transaction train, and can cost you a commission check. We see it every day, right? And sometimes it can cost you both, right, if you're getting both sides of the transaction. So buckle up, and what we're going to show you is these 7 use cases and how we've been able to better serve the client through automation and let our staff be more human. Okay. Use case number 1. This is really cool. So these are what we did is we pulled out real world screenshots. We blurred them out. We're in, correct me if I'm wrong here, almost every single CRM, right, that we've integrated, not necessarily integrated into, but been able to operate on the basis of, right, for automation tasks. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, any system, when you think about automation and robotic process automation, artificial intelligence, neurolinguistic programming, the ability to screen read and use all these things, anything that has a website, anything that has a desktop application, we've basically been able to work with. And again, we started years ago using it in our own companies to build the efficiencies when it was much more expensive. And then over time, that cost has been able to come further and further down as the automation team has grown and grown and grown, both supporting companies that we've already been using this and then starting to support outside companies as well.
That's amazing. So what it really truly is a plug and play, opposed to I've got to stand up a whole new CRM or a whole new operational system. Like, no, all the hard work's already done. We've just got to figure out what you're trying to accomplish, show you what right looks like for other individuals that may be using it, and then create that custom solution through automation. And that development time, I mean, I remember back in the day when I was taking program classes, 6 months to a year at a minimum, just to scope out, code, build, and test. And I've seen one of these programs, automation programs, go live in like 14 days, right? It may take a month, may take a month and a half, but we're not talking take 6 months to a year for implementation. I was on the line with a $1 billion firm, somebody that was running their internal operations. And they're like, yeah, we've got a 24-month contract for a multi-million-dollar automation. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, you can literally take this stuff. It's right off of the shelf, and we've got a lot of it already pre-built. So this one is really cool. What this is doing is the program is actually going in and looking at your CRM, and it's actually auditing your leads. So when the new lead comes in, it can look and see, hey, does that lead have a prescribed call, text, note, email, message, right? And what we have seen by auditing all those new leads that they come in, and this is, again, it's real time. This thing is watching your system real time. It's not logging in the middle of the night and checking once, right? As new leads pop in, we've got it staggered so that it can check all those follow-up and then bubble up what was not accomplished. Understanding that on average, we see 20 to 70% of leads don't have prescribed follow-up actions, according to you, the business leader, the owner, the agent, right? And this is normal. With automation, that doesn't have to be an issue anymore. Okay, anything you want to add to this one before we jump to number 2?
I think just as think about this from an operational standpoint, because I use this in my day-to-day as far as with our sales teams. And I mean, we use our own mousetrap. And so with this, being able to have the real-time notifications, it's almost like there was a client that switched over from this, and they had 540 hours of monthly coverage they were paying for to have 18 hours a day, 30 days out of the month, of people going in and auditing every single lead because something missed. That's money, and that's a relationship, and it's reputation on the line. And so with that, having the real time, like, hey, 30 minutes ago or right away, this doesn't have activity in 30 minutes. This doesn't have activity in 45 minutes. This one doesn't have a saved search created. And so, yeah, really being able to customize that to what somebody's looking for very easily. So somebody doesn't have to have custom programmers. They don't have to think, like you said, about programming being this big thing. And being able to have it go in and look for things, navigating through. Some of these we've even seen being in multiple systems of, hey, when a lead comes in, check these 3 things here, then have the system go log into the MLS and check for a saved search there, have it go log into Ring Central and check and see if an actual phone call was made, not just a task left or a note saying they did call. And so again, having it be flexible, at least for us, what we've had a lot of enjoyment with, is just being able to dream and say, okay, yeah, we need to check those 14 different things right at this time. And then whether it's 1 or 1,000 of those that have to happen at the same time, it all just grows with it.
Man, but I'm going back to my, I'm when we're talking me programming, I was like this deep, right? But one of the things that was constantly hammered into me was data doesn't lie, right? And when we're talking about automation, we're not taking breaks. They rarely make mistakes. They're making mistakes if they were programmed incorrectly, right? And we have tests and wickets for that. And so for me, it's having these tools to know that every single lead that I'm paying for is getting taken care of according to what I prescribe, that exact action, and I don't have to think about it. And if it was missed, the system is trained to tell me it was missed, right? Which is what we're going to dive into for use case number 2. This is amazing. So I'm a big advocate of truth data. So we actually pulled the real spreadsheet from this tool. And what this tool essentially is doing is watching all incoming missed phone calls. Okay, this is not a human doing this. This is the automation program, which is watching all missed phone calls. And then if no action was taken, i.e. they didn't get a call back within 5 minutes, boom, it alerts the system. And this is a report of, what is this, in the first, 2 days, we've seen, 25, 27 missed opportunities of somebody calling you because they're interested in doing business with you, and they didn't get a call back within 5 minutes. So what happened with that lead? Well, before this, more than likely, it went straight to your competition, because research data proves that when somebody is ready to buy or sell a home, they're not reaching out to just you. They're reaching out to 4 to 6 potential competitors of you, okay? And so this fixes that problem. What we have in red right here, let me go back, is this on average finds 200 missed calls per week that don't get responded to within 5 minutes, okay? Every single one of these is a potential commission check that we're just missing. And I would consider the hottest of hot leads, somebody calling me on my phone saying, can I do business with you, right? What else would you like to add to this one?
Just that I was talking, so the person that's using this, I happen to know them personally, and they're a partner in some of the other businesses that we're in.
Mhm.
And when we're talking to them, it was the idea that some of these are actually incoming lead calls coming from Zillow and lead providers. You miss that, you don't even get that opportunity. That's somebody that wants to talk right then. And so knowing, hey, right away, this didn't get a call back. If some of those, they could ratchet that back and say, if it's from these numbers, tell me within 2 minutes. We got to get back to them very quickly. And so again, just that idea. And as these come up, it's been really interesting to be around the rooms. I mean, not only our problems and seeing how the CAS team works through those, but even hearing about the other problems, is it's more of what are your pain points? Where can you lose money? And then finding ways to have systems built around those to only leave the things that people need to do. That yes, the person needs to make that call back at 6 minutes. But why doesn't the team leader always know when something's missed instead of a once a week audit of, hey, this week we missed 200, what can we do differently next week? No, this is the real time at 5 minutes, it goes to somebody else, have someone else make that phone call.
I love it. And I didn't even know that this was possible until you showed it to me. And then it's like, there's this thing in marketing that you have to get exposure first to create demand, right? You didn't know you wanted it until you saw it, kind of deal. This is the purpose of showing you, guys, this is possible. Current systems out in the marketplace off the shelf can't do this, right? So we're building automation tools so that we can patch up all of those holes and then try and drive down your operational costs at the end of the day, giving your client, the home buyer and seller, a far superior experience, right? Imagine if you never had to get a missed phone call, or you knew that they were going to call back within 5 minutes, and the system could validate it every single day of the year, okay? Case number 3, use case number 3 is actually one of my favorites. So this adds a layer of contact, okay? So that screenshot that I showed you at the very beginning with the text message, that was done by the automation suite. Essentially, it can send text messages. It can send out emails, voicemail drops at different days and times to supplement what your CRM can't really do, okay? And then when it says, oh, wait, it responded, and it sees that it's responded because it's actually looking at the lead in the CRM, boom, it can then pause that outreach so that it can run for days, weeks, different paths, methods. In the red, you'll see this can save you 2 to 20 hours per day of labor. Just think about that, right? What the average operational person requires, $15 to $30 an hour, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more, compounded over the entire year. That's huge in cost savings. But again, it's about the client, making sure that they have as perfect a possible follow-up as we can create for them. What do you want to add to that, Chris?
I think so a little bit, maybe, again, maybe this could have been at the beginning, but the idea that with artificial intelligence and machine learning, the 3 largest positions that are being eliminated right now are marketing, because a lot of marketing are the analytics, pulling in information, right, making recommendations. Developers, so programmers, because a lot of these things, I mean, again, now you can have systems using systems and building systems. There's even systems that write code now. And then the last one are sales managers. And one of the largest jobs of a sales manager, and almost every larger real estate team or brokerage has some type of a sales manager, even if it's under a different name, is digging and diagnosing. And so if you have anybody that's digging for data, or look over here, or check these 13 things every single week, or even these, as you're thinking about managing a sales process, as far as if you have people that need to go in and type in here and look here and copy and paste, and if no properties went out, they have to go adjust the save search to widen the criteria. All of those things can be done by computers now, and they couldn't before because you needed an API. You need something built so specific just for that. Whereas now you can say, have the computer go log in there, log into the website, deal with 2-factor authentication, check the number of properties, adjust the search. And so with these, again, I always bring it back to more of that dreaming process, and David, I know you do too, because it doesn't have to be what somebody else used, but you're exactly right. What do you want people to do? And then limit it to what they actually have to do.
Just imagine if your team of agents, or you as the agent, didn't have to go in and watch the status of every single lead every single day, 24 hours a day, right? Which is what a lot of us do, because like, oh, that's going to be that next opportunity. Guys, now you can spend the time on the phone, face to face, showing homes, doing listing appointments, and not worrying about crap, what's going on in my CRM, while I'm sleeping. No, the automation allows you to continue to make money while you're sleeping because it's watching your entire database 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Never takes breaks unless you want it to.
And one other piece.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So one other piece with this, and this is maybe for context, just because people haven't used these systems or seen these in operation in small businesses in the past, is that for some of these, like for this CRM specifically, because I was talking to one of the clients that uses it as we were building some of ours. So this actually has to, every single time a lead comes in, it's logging out, logging back in as the correct agent to send these emails and the text messages from the native interface inside the CRM as the right agent. And so it's constantly navigating around, uploading animated GIFs for the pictures, typing in the messages, reading for where there's responses, checking the tags, checking if there's a valid phone number, and doing all these different things just like a person would. And so there's always reasons to have a person involved, but it's definitely, it can be a lot more complex than most interactions with computers have been in the past.
Totally. And honestly, Chris, having been in the industry for quite a while now, I don't know that most agents do what you just said, right? Checking the correct tag, validating the phone number, going in and looking at the follow-up, right? So what's really cool is we know what that playbook should be to maximize conversion rate off of your leads, right? And then we can help implement that into your system based off of what's a good cultural fit for you, right? That's pretty cool stuff. So use case, okay, I lied. Number 3 is really cool. Number 4 is definitely my favorite. And again, this is an actual report. So this was a text message sent by the automated sales manager, one of the automation tools. And I'm gonna read this line to you. Quick update for today. Of the 26 leads today, 14 did not have follow-up at 30 minutes. 12 did not have follow-up at 45 minutes. And here's a list of all of the agents with the respective lead name with the lead tag at 30 minutes, at 45 minutes. What if you had this every single day, right? We have clients today that get a lead report every single day of every single missed opportunity so that they can go in and shore that up, train their team and ensure that their clients, the home buyers and sellers, are getting the best possible follow-up. Every single one of these, all 14, all 12, is a potential missed commission check because we missed the ball. We're supposed to be following up in 30 minutes. We're supposed to be following up in 45 minutes. You're supposed to be following up in 5 minutes, but we understand that you're busy, right? You can't be 15 places at once. Guess what? The automation tools can, right? They're looking at your CRM, they're watching your phone calls, and then they're bubbling up all of those missed opportunities and then sending you as the business leader, the operations person, the sales manager, a report of what was missed, when, and who, which is pretty cool. What do you want to add to that one, Chris?
Yeah, very cool. And I think the idea of customized reporting of what do you want to know, when do you want to know it? Some people have done these types of audits once a week or once a month as a retrospective. Well, it doesn't help you real time. Even this doing it daily, sometimes people have that on like when it hits 45 minutes, tell me right away and send me the report at the end of the day. We've also used this inside of like the insurance company we run. There was a big use for, hey, any quotes that have not been responded to within 5 days, notify us right away, give us a report at the end of the day. And so being able to say, hey, for any leads that are this status, if these things haven't happened, let me know. And so you can kind of use it even for database management for helping see, I want to know each agent who has tasks that are overdue, who's not responding to a certain type of leads or certain statuses or tags. Again, it's you're telling a computer, go look at all these different things and then bring me back and send me or my sales manager, whoever it is, a report. So it's actionable right then. And a lot of times, again, these systems just aren't set up to do that. So you're paying staff to, you're doing it, you're paying a virtual assistant to, you still use those people where they need to. But again, you can kind of have that custom reporting and have the computer go dig and bring it back to you.
That's freaking cool. And these at this point, we're interfacing with Slack channels and internal chat systems, as well as the text messages and emails that you see here. Is that right?
I mean, yeah, there's some interesting, it interfaces with anything that has a website or a desktop application. And so it doesn't really matter where it needs to go or what it needs to do. If you can access it from a website or a desktop application or an API or anything else. And so we even have those handwritten cards where it uses an actual pen. We have artificial intelligence that can make a voicemail and deliver it for you instead of you having to record. I mean, all kinds of different things that can be done. Yeah, if you can touch it, it can be built in.
That's so amazing. It's cool because how fast this is accelerating for everybody that's not super familiar with Chris and I, we've been in the tech space for a while. How fast this has accelerated over the last 6 months has been mind blowing. But then also having it live as those sensors out there in the market telling us what seriously, what their biggest and baddest problems are, and then having us create custom solutions to fix them. And again, we've never encountered an issue that wasn't fixable, right, from an automation standpoint. And that's saying something. Use case number 5. I want to switch this one up. Do you want to talk about 5? Because I'm a little bit more gray on this one because I haven't seen it operate a ton in the background.
Yeah, so we started using this inside of the insurance company as well, and then Dave and the team had rolled it out, and it's used by very many different clients now. But the idea is that it can navigate a website, it can pull information, it can do custom things with that information. And so the idea, if you can see everybody that's returning to the system you're using, you can see those. What messages have they been sent and when have they been sent? It's like 3 days in a row. You don't say 3 messages. Wait a week or 2 weeks. And so,
Chris, can you hold on a second? You're breaking up a lot.
Yeah, give me 1 second. So I'm gonna.
Yeah,
no, you're fine. You're fine. I'm gonna take this because I could hear what you were saying. You try your audio one more time. So I'm a marketing guy. This to me screams advanced remarketing, because what Chris just said, and I'll kick it back over to you in a second, is this is actually watching your database and watching your website to see when people are coming back to your website, and then lets you know when they are real time, right? Great. It's awesome to serve people banners and video ads after the fact. Can you imagine if I was on your website and this thing gave me a notification and your phone started ringing? Hey, I see you're on the website. Kind of creepy, really awesome. Chris, check your audio. How is it now?
Okay, any better?
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, so kick off where I left off.
Perfect. So yeah, the idea that it can go much deeper than check for a report. So this, if you want a system to go in every hour and look at who's returned to your website, see how many messages they've been sent in the past, rotate through a bunch of different types of messages. Again, it can be sending emails, voicemails, messages, doing something in a different system. Again, whether it's provided or not from your base system, again, it can take that information and go fire manual actions. And same thing, it can then go check the search. If there's only a couple properties, it can widen the search, it can constrict it. I mean, it's interacting with the computer and it can read a screen to understand what's going on. And so again, this is almost screaming database management. If you have 1,000 or 10,000 nurture leads in your database and you want to go through, and if they've been communicated with in 60 days or 90 or inactive, and do all these different items, traditionally only people did that. And again, it doesn't have to take every item. It could notify a person to fire an item. But again, it can work through at almost any scale, any number of leads or activities. It can navigate through time zones, methods of communication. Again, you tell it what to do, it learns, and then it does it.
Fantastic. It's okay. I'm gonna challenge you to dream. Like, where do you think this is gonna be in 6 months, a year? Because I know you're thinking about it. Is like, can you share anything that you've got in the laboratory? You know.
I mean, it's an interesting world when you see what's actually possible today. When you see that people want interaction, and outside of that true belly to belly or the true Zoom call where you know it's them that you're talking to, any other message that isn't coming across real time is starting to be able to be made, created, managed by somebody else, whether it's an assistant that's virtual or virtual. At the end of the day, somebody's helping you with it. And so the ability for people to choose how they scale. Is it one person acting like 10,000? Is it 10,000 acting like one? And really, what's the difference if the consumer is getting the right interaction? And some of those pieces that are getting so much better right now are those NLP communication engines, where a machine is actually taking a conversation through all the different questions, the dips and the dives, not as a kind of a tree of if they say yes, if they say no, but if they jump around and ask a different question, knowing where to go with that, and not just, I don't understand your question. So as those pieces come together, I agree with you. I think there's very few things that are not able to be automated. But this has been, over the last couple of years, really big change is computers using computers, not people using computers.
Right. Yeah. Well, when I first started taking classes on AI, I was mind blown by artificial intelligence creating art, like truly unique art, right? And that boils down to creativity. And really what I've seen through CAS service automation with these current use cases is it's just as advanced. It's literally, you can do anything, right? And of course, we're gonna caution you if you try and create something entirely insane that's not gonna work, okay, based off of precedent, but go for it. So we wanted to tease out like actual quotes, actual testimonials. So this is for an individual that's been using the program for many, many months. And the thing that I love most about this quote All my staff has to do is focus on in engaging with the client, right? So essentially they're taking all of the low hanging fruit, operational stuff, not all of it, but a good portion of it, and using that in those first 5 use cases that you see here. We've got a couple of more use cases. And then what I want to do is open it up for questions, have a little bit of a conversation, okay? And then Jake, if there's anybody posting in Facebook or whatever, bubble those up to us as well, okay? All right, use case number 6. How many of you have had to go in and create new leads in your database? And a lot of them, right? And it's the worst thing in the world because it's usually at the end of your day and you're exhausted and you've been talking to people for 8 to 10 hours, maybe more. This allows the automation to take lead information from disparate systems, right? I've seen it operate through Excel, Google Sheets, and a bunch of other places, and then pull all the information and actually create leads on its own into your CRM, right? Manually creating a lead, can then send text messages and then follow up with all of the correspondence based off of your lead follow-up plan, right? And it's dynamic. We can, just because we build it one way doesn't mean that it has to stay that way. We can change it. I mean, I've literally seen it being changed daily as far as the, the updates to lead follow-up. And so what this does, there is no human in the loop at all, with the exception of initial training and kind of creating the rubric, until your prospect is ready to do business, until they say, I'm ready to talk to a human, I'm ready to talk to an agent. The automation takes care of everything else leading up to that point. Real world, we have a client who's been using this and he has seen a 70% reduction in his lead follow-up operational costs in a 90-day period. And it's only getting better. Imagine that if you were getting 200 leads, 500 leads, 1,000 leads a month. This handles it so that your agents can focus on what they do best, being agents, right? They're not database managers. We know that. That's why we built this. Chris, what do you want to add to this?
Yeah, this one's, I would say, near and dear, because we installed this inside of a high volume operating company that we run. And we had somebody cry when this actually rolled out, because it changed the way that they had to do their job. It was that kind of the paper cuts of the repetitive motion of, hey, I'm going to go put leads in, then I'm going to send a text, I'm going to send an email, I'm going to create the task for the next day. The next day, I'm going to come back in, see if there's a response. I'm going to send these next ones, because this was a very, how we used it was a very manual system we were using. It didn't have the ability to have all these things automated. Now, some systems have plugins that can do it, but a lot of times it's not coming natively from your systems. Now you have it coming from different text messages or different email addresses. So again, that affects the consumer. And so being able to switch our entire sales team over to being passive, waiting for responses, waiting for Calendly appointments to get scheduled, it freed up about 4/5, about 80% of all of their time that was going out. And just that ability, I mean, for us, when we use it specifically, I know other clients use it for different things. It's reading text messages, it's reading the emails, it's notifying when a response come in, it's letting them know, hey, we haven't seen a response, it's time for you to make a phone call, even creating those tasks.
Wow.
And so even thinking about, if you have brain drain on your staff where they're having to think about what to do next, letting a system tell them what they need to do and just remove all of that from them. Different way of thinking about lead management, lead follow-up.
So obviously we do like a fair amount of recruiting and retention and feedback cultivation, those kinds of courses. I just immediately imagine what this would do for your hiring practices. If you could show this to your prospective agents, those big producers that have a book of business who are looking to make a move. By the way, guys, the market's slowing down. We know this. Look at interest rates. Look at what's happening with inventory. And it's those top tier agents. I mean, when they see stuff like this, they want to work for the teams, the brokerages, the mega brokerages that have all those sexy tools, right? So, and you could literally say, you don't have to update your leads. You don't have to worry about the follow-up. All you have to do is just do the transaction and be really good at that, right? Imagine how much more money they would make, you would make, right? If you could have all of those pieces automated, and then of course, retention is wanting to keep them there. That's where my mind goes. Not even necessarily the bottom line implication of just better contact rates, right? Pretty cool stuff. Guys, we got the last use case here. And Chris, you may disagree with me as far as the market slowing down. Okay, I know there's some stuff happening. We'll leave it at that. So I have my own system for task management and aggregation. I literally use a document that looks very similar to this, but what this does is super cool. Explain this for me really quick, okay? If you can.
Yeah, so I use this internally, and a lot of our team and customers use this. But it's the idea of, how do you manage your tasks? So personally for me, my world is many different CRMs, different places where I have things. Now, again, I could put it all in a single CRM. I need to be more disciplined for that. But this is bridging my personal and my professional life. So I have personal tasks. I have reminders in Apple. I have my work CRM tasks. I have stuff I need to do in the future. And so this pulls all of that together and every single morning drops into Google Drive or OneDrive to where it just shows up on my e-ink reader. And so every single day from any area, any task that anybody's assigned to me are all in one spot and very easy to go through, make notations. There's actually an OCR piece that can be used that can actually read handwriting and repurpose the task for what the days that you write or send them to other people. And so you kind of get to even like writing on e-ink readers and then having systems process that, read it, and then go through, find those tasks and edit them in their respective systems. So that takes me a little bit further depending on how complex somebody wants to get. But again, just that idea that as you can access pretty much anything from anywhere, if it's on a website or if it's somewhere in a desktop application, and then have that interface with APIs, with web, with sending emails, putting PDFs together. So again, depending on how people manage, sometimes CRM is just fine for them. For me, it's 6 a.m. looking at everything I have across all the different operations and figuring out where to go.
Yeah, well, I mean, for anybody that's worked with me in CAT services, we work Sundays usually because it's catch up on admin so that we can hit the ground running on Mondays. This kind of fixes it to the point of like, can it just do my job for me? Like it's getting to that point, right? It can follow up with leads. It can send emails. It can tell you what to do so that you can focus on just being more human, right? And it's really those relationships that are going to help grow your business so you don't have to be focusing on the admin stuff. It's really incredible. And you used a term in there, OCR. I explain to the LCA community what that is and what it can do.
Yeah, I apologize. All these TLA, the 3-letter acronym.
Yeah.
So OCR is optical character recognition. It's the idea that a computer can read what's on the screen. Good OCR can also recognize handwriting. Now, if you write like it's Japanese, but you think it's English, there may be some confusion there. But these computers, when they're reading the screen, they can read handwriting. I mean, at that point, then they're going off those instructions and doing what you told them to do. So again, OCR, optical character recognition, the ability for a computer to read and understand what's actually written in a sheet of paper, in a PDF, or on the screen.
And it can also look at a picture and say what's in that picture, if I'm not mistaken, right? And there.
Oh my gosh, yeah, you can have it look at a picture, say what's in it. You can have it do context analysis, so it can listen to phone calls, read text messages, tell you if they're positive, negative, angry. And so again, if you want a system to listen to every phone call that's ever been recorded, transcribe it, and then show you the ones that are negative, again, that's all doable.
Now, pause for a minute, because I remember when you were, so people that don't know Chris, he was at the head of a very successful real estate company here in Colorado. And what you guys did to train the agents to ensure that you guys were top 10 in the entire country, right? Do you remember that with the recorded phone calls?
Yeah, I wish it was 10. Yeah, it was top 20. I wish it was top 10. And again, those teams today are much, much larger. So a lot of respect to mega teams today. Yeah, we used to have a process where we forced at every one-on-one, we pulled up 2 recorded phone calls, and we made sure everybody recorded all calls until they made initial contact and went out on that showing. So we knew, how did they build that bond at the beginning? How were they responding? How were they taken? And we would force in every single one-on-one with each sales member each week, one of our sales brokers, is we would listen to 2 phone calls. Didn't matter what they were. There were good ones, there were bad ones. And then in each of our team meetings, we would listen to 2 from any of the agents. And it just forced that discipline of, you're in sales, we're gonna have some good or bad ones, but it's the accountability of how do we handle it better next time. And this being very similar is in that somebody would have made hundreds of phone calls during the week. We're only listening to 2, so it's a very minor accountability spot check. Whereas with this, you could have something listen to all the phone calls, grade all of them, and you would get notified of any of them that have any negativity, any swearing, any people talking over each other, raising their voices. Again, it doesn't happen very often, but if you're dealing with hundreds or thousands of leads, you're only hearing what people are bringing to you.
That's incredible. Just to think, I want to start using this today. Can we sign up? Let's talk about sign up. So obviously this is some pretty high level technology. It doesn't necessarily have a high level price tag to it. And we were very intentional about this at Cast because, and we've done this a lot, right? With our AI driven SEO and our custom websites, we really want them to be accessible to the everyday agent, right? So there are people that are using these that are a couple $1,000s a month and it's reducing their operational costs for lead follow-up by 60, 70%, meaning they're ROI positive in 90 days, right? Not to mention the morale of their staff, the recruiting, the retention, all of the ancillary benefits, just being able to sleep easier at night, knowing my database is being watched by automation 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And when I come in the morning, I'm going to know exactly what I have to do if the automation hasn't already done it for me. That's pretty incredible. So this is Joe. Joe is the executive of a multi-million-dollar brokerage. So he was like, about, initially this said 3.25. I'm like, Joe, we're not going to use about 3.25. but what used to take 23 hours of manpower and woman power for an entire lead nurture cycle now takes 3.5 hours from tip to tail, right? Because the automation is handling the rest. Imagine you're paying a human 23 hours versus 3.5 hours. And then everything that goes out, it's in the exact perfect wording that they want it to be. So now they don't have to worry, oh, was there some sort of, kerfuffle? Was there profanity? Was there a lack of response time? All of it's dialed in. So if you do want to know more about how Joe is using this, we would love to open a dialogue. Again, cast.services. You can register on any of those buttons. And then we've got one other, Micah. Man, I love his smile. So I want you to tell me a little bit about Micah, because you and he have worked together for quite some time.
Yeah, Micah is an extremely sharp broker and has had a lot of input into just a lot of different things that we've done. Very aggressive grower, very strong operator, knows his numbers, what everybody's doing, where things are, very systematic. So he was doing 100 million. He's on pace to do 200 million now. And just how he thinks about operations. He's always known what all of his problems were, but the technology could never catch up to that. And so it was always so many Google Sheets and processes and different things. And now in talking with him, because we work with him in mortgage and insurance and some of these other areas, is just the idea that he has these pieces at his fingertips. He doesn't have to require his agents to go in and update, say, the CRM, and then go update a lead portal, and then go find out what they need to do next, and then go update a transaction status. Is he can just have them work on their phone, and then the systems then go and fire up a browser and update that lead portal and update the CRM and send out the notification. It can even go through and create his QuickBooks invoices for what needs to get sent out for commissions to be paid. I mean, if the data is there, instead of having somebody do it, and so if he's going through and doubling his operation, do you double your staff every single year, or do you help them work smarter? And David, one piece that you were talking about affected us greatly just from a bottom line perspective is this automation used to be, and for Fortune 100, 500, it's 50, 100, 200, $500,000. I mean, it's thousands and thousands of dollars. Initially, we had to pay all those prices in order to get this. But as we've been able to scale and been able to implement and then scale the teams, like David said, there's ones that were thousands a month. And then the idea is to continue to drive that price lower and lower and lower as more scaling comes out towards more accessible to everybody. I think we had one, David, that was offered at $600 a month. And that's the cheapest price that we've ever seen anything like this, just because it's at that point of a scale. And so again, driving that cost down, driving the affordability out to everybody. But also, like you said, what's on the cutting edge? So many things that Micah has been able to do, I've never heard of anybody doing before, but it was idea matched with the ability. And now all of a sudden it's a reality. And that's kind of been one of the coolest things, even internally inside of operations, is seeing once you do some of this stuff, the month later, we had an entire leadership team that just got together and came up with new things to ask, okay, well, could this be automated? And so once the first things happen, now everybody starts changing the way they think and what they dream of next. And after that is, yeah, very cool.
Dude, great segue to this, right?
Yeah,
it is for everybody out there. Again, we've been very open with what we work on and what we're trying to accomplish in the real estate space, really trying to push this industry forward with the most cutting edge tools and strategies based off of real world experience, right? We come from real estate, right? For everybody that doesn't know, we've got fingerprints on Firepoint, ownership, mortgage and insurance, CAS services, and a whole bunch of others, trying to push the industry forward to make your lives better, easier. But at the end of the day, it all comes down to the client, the home buyer and the home seller getting the perfect follow-up, the touches right when they need them to give them what they want and just be done. Okay. And that's what everybody really is looking for in the industry. So if you're interested in any of this content information, cast.services, any of those lead forms and any of the pages. Again, you can ask questions in the Facebook group. If you see this on YouTube, hit us up on the website and we'll get right back to you. Everything is fully custom for our clients, built on purpose, right? To drive down your bottom line and make your staff lives a lot easier. Chris, is there anything else that you want to kind of button this up to put a bow on?
I think the only thing would be peace of mind, that in how I'm able to operate in operations using this automation at high levels in multiple different companies, it's just a peace of mind that normally to get this done, I'd have to hire X number of more people. And it's a back mind drain as far as those people, what are they doing today, the management, the rehiring, the training, what happens if they're not here. And in having these pieces automated, it's peace of mind without the people side of management to it. And it's also peace of mind for the people saying, hey, if we triple the number of leads, man, I'm gonna have to have 4 more people just calling those. Well, maybe you don't. Maybe you let that completely scale no matter how many more leads you have. And so it just gives you different options. And so the peace of mind of having different options is exciting. And then just the challenge of dreaming and making sure you're seeing those different options. So I think that's the best area where I can say, whenever we have a problem, end up calling David and the team says, okay, yes, here's how it can happen, here's how it can't happen, or here's what you need to do. Don't try and come up with a solution in your head. I mean, have that conversation and just ask the question of, here's what I'm doing. If you're paying more than $500 a month for either that staff person or a software system to do it, or the risk of loss, ask the question and get somebody else's, get David and the CAST team's opinion of how can it happen, what can it do, and then as it scales, is it less expensive this way?
Dude, that's an amazing way to close this out. And I'm just gonna, when we hop on that very first phone call, I'm gonna walk you through that. We just have a conversation. Hallie, tell me a little bit about your business. You know, what's your lead flow like? What are those different channels? What's your lead follow-up look like? What are you trying to do 6 months, a year out? You know, we can talk a little bit about finances. Even if you don't know your numbers, that's okay. We can figure them out together. And then I challenge you. I'm saying, okay, cool. We're gonna pause, and then you're gonna go back to your corner. I'm gonna go back to mine. I want you to write a list of everything you wish you could have. And then we go down that list, and a lot of times it's, oh yeah, we've done that, we've done that, we've done that. Ooh, that's an interesting one. And then we send that over to our CAST automation team, and we've got a staff of developers that can build that stuff out like that. Remember at the very beginning, I was talking about the $1 billion company? Yeah, we're talking year to 2 year timeline, $500,000 retainer just to take a look at the solution. I mean, that's what people are charging in that Fortune 500, Fortune 100 space. You can touch this automation for a couple of $1,000s. So LabCoatAgents, Tristan, thank you so much for having us. Chris, thanks for being here, man.
Thank you as well. Thank you, Tristan. Thank you, everybody at LCA, and happy Monday.
Happy Monday. All right, everybody. Have a good one. Thanks, Chris.